Good afternoon, students. This is Reema, your biology educator for grade 11, and I welcome you all to V-Learning. As you know that V-Learning is an online educational platform where we strive to provide quality education for all. So to get all the benefits from our channel, do subscribe to it if you have not subscribed, and also like, share it with others so that someone will get benefit out of it. And don't forget to visit to our website, that is www.v-learning.in, where you will be getting pre-recorded videos, animated videos, the live classes, and all the PDF notes of these chapters. So without any delay, let's begin today's session. So as we have seen that in our previous class, what we have learned, learned about the morphology of flowering plants, right? That was your chapter number 5, where you have learned about the physical appearance of the flowering plants, that you have seen about the roots, you have learned about the stem, right? And also the leaves, flowers, fruits, and seeds. So all this, what we have learned is the morphology of the flowering plants, that is what we can see, right? That is the physical appearance of an organism. So the flower, the stem, the leaves, these are the things which we can see, right? These are the various parts of the plant which we can see. But what about the cells? What about the tissues which we cannot see? What is that? What we call that? Right? So as you know that morphology is the physical appearance of an organism, that similarly that is anatomy. Anatomy means the study of the internal structure of an organism, whether it is plant or it is animal. So in today's class, we are going to start with your new chapter, that is your chapter number 6, where you will be learning about the anatomy of flowering plants. So as you can see here, anatomy of flowering plants. So already I have said you what is the meaning of anatomy. Anatomy is nothing but the study of the internal structure of an organism, that is inside the plant body, what is present. Like you see that in our body we have different organs, right, which are invisible, we cannot see, right? So anatomy is studying the internal structure, that is inside the plants. The plant has got cell, it has got tissues, so how the transportation of water takes place, then how the food is transferred from one part of the plant to another, we cannot see, right? So in this chapter you will be learning all about the internal structure of the plants, that is how what is the internal structure of your root, how is the internal structure of the stem, and also the leaves. So yes, but what we are going to learn in today's session, we will be covering this topic, that is your meristematic tissue and the permanent tissue, and this is your lecture number 1. So yes, let's begin today's session. I hope you all are ready. But before that, let us see the overview of this lesson. What you are going to learn under this lesson. So under this lesson, you will be learning about the plant tissue. Okay, that is in the plants there are different types of tissue. Mainly the two basic tissue in plant, that is your meristematic tissue and the permanent tissue. Next, what you are going to learn? You are going to learn about the tissue system in the plants. So in plants there are again 3 types of tissue system. One is your epidermal tissue system, then next one is your ground system tissue system, and the third one is your vascular tissue system, under which you will be learning about the xylem and the phloem. So next you will be learning about the anatomy of the dicot and the monocot, root, stem, and the leaves. And also you will be learning about the secondary growth in plants. So how the plant it becomes, that is the thickness of the plants, how it increases with the help of your cambium, right? So we will be learning all about these things in this chapter in detail. So in today's class we are going to cover what? That is your meristematic tissue and the permanent tissue. But before that, Do you know the meaning of tissue? What do you mean by tissue? As you have seen or you have studied about cell in your lower class, similarly you have studied tissue also. In your 9th standard you have studied about tissue, right? So here there you have studied about the plant tissue and also the animal tissue. But in class 11 you will be learning in much more detail about the tissue. Alright, so what is this tissue? First of all, let us see what is cell. Cell is what? Cell is the structural, that is the basic structural and functional unit of life, right? But then what is this tissue? That means when a group of cells that perform the similar function, we call it as tissue. That means in our body we have different cells, right? We have this muscular cells, for example. So when these muscle cells, they combine together and perform a specific function, we call it as muscular tissue. Clear? So similarly in plants also, as we all human beings are made up of cells, tissues, organs, these plants are also made up of what? Made up of tissue. So let us understand the meaning of tissue. You can write it down. What is this tissue exactly? So a tissue is a group of cells. Okay, a tissue is what? It is a group of cells having a common origin and usually performing a common function. Alright, so a plant is made up of different kinds of tissue. So the plant body is also made up of different kinds of tissues, and these tissues are functioning or having different function in case of plants. Some of the tissues, they are responsible for transportation of water, for example your xylem tissue. Some tissues are responsible for transportation of food, that is your phloem tissue. There are some again the epidermal or the epidermis. Okay, this epidermis are responsible for protection. They are present in the outermost layer of, or they are the outermost covering of the plant body. So similarly plant also have the ground tissue system. So next so see how the tissues are formed. That is your cell, right? So from the cell, a group of cells, they combine together and they form what? They form tissue. Now from the tissue, what we get? From the tissue we get the organ, right? And from the organ, that is how an organ is being formed. That is a group of tissue, they combine together and form an organ. Then from the organ system is being formed, and from that organ system a whole new organism is developed. So organism. Okay. Now, tell me, what is the study of tissue? What do you call the study of tissue? The study of tissue is called as histology. So, what is this histology? Here I am writing histology. Histology is nothing but what? Histology is the study of tissue. So, histology is your study of tissue. Now, who is the first person to discover this tissue? The first person to discover this tissue is called as his name is Xavier Bichet. Xavier Bichet. So he is known as the father of tissue. So he is the first person to discover the tissue. Now how he discovered the tissue? When he was studying with the anatomy, that time he has discovered the tissue in the year 1801. In the year 1801, Xavier Bichet has discovered the term tissue, and he is known as the father of tissue. Clear about tissue? Let's move to the next topic, that is your classification of tissues. So plant tissues, they are basically classified into two major groups, namely your meristematic tissue and the permanent tissue. Now what is this meristematic tissue and the permanent tissue? Simple thing you can remember that meristematic tissues has the capacity to divide, whereas permanent tissue lacks the capacity to divide. So you can remember that meristematic tissue has the capacity to divide, okay, and no division, you can remember, okay, no division of cells taking place in case of your permanent tissue. So let's learn this meristematic tissue in detail. So what are this meristematic tissue? These are the tissues which has the capacity to divide, and they are the actively dividing cells, okay. These cells are undifferentiated. So a plant tissue that has the power to divide itself actively throughout its life is called a meristematic tissue. So these are the plant tissue which has the ability to divide throughout their life. So they are called as your meristematic tissues. So growth in plant is largely restricted to a specialized regions of actively cell division called the meristem. Alright, so growth in the plants, they are restricted to a region. That region is called as your meristem. It is derived from the Greek word that is your meristos. Meristos means what? Meristos means divided. So this permanent tissues, how they are formed? These permanent tissues are formed from the meristematic tissues only. So this meristematic tissues, they divide and they reach to a certain point, okay, where they lack the capacity to divide, and they form the permanent tissues. So these meristematic tissues are again differentiated into three types. So what are the three types? One is your apical meristem, then intercalary meristem, and the lateral meristem. So how is the diagram of this meristematic tissue? If we draw it like this, okay, so like this, this part is called as your apical meristem. That is, apical meristem are the region which is present in the root tip and the shoot tip. So these are present in the root tip and the shoot tip. This is your apical meristem. So intercalary meristem is present in the center, in the middle. So intercalary meristem, they are present in the center, and lateral meristem, it is present in the cambium. They are basically responsible for making the plant thick. So it is present in the cambium, that is your lateral meristem. Alright, lateral meristem. So these are the three types of meristem. So see the diagram of this your meristematic, or what are the various types of meristem. So as you can see, this is your apical meristem. So apical meristem is basically responsible for the growth. Okay, they are responsible for increasing the length of the plant or height of the plant. So they are present in the shoot tip and the root tip. So they are present basically in the shoot tip and root tip, in the roots. So they are responsible for increasing the height of the plant. They are not responsible for increasing the thickness. Okay, they are responsible for increasing the length of the plant. So they are the primary meristem. So this meristem again can be divided into two types. One is your primary. So this meristem can be divided into two classes. One is your primary meristem, one is your primary meristem, and another is your secondary meristem. So another is your secondary meristem. So under this primary meristem, this apical meristem, then auxiliary bud, and the intercalary meristem comes. And under the secondary meristem, your lateral meristem comes. So under this primary meristem, what comes? Your apical meristem, then auxiliary bud, and the intercalary meristem. And under the secondary meristem comes your lateral meristem. So lateral meristem is basically responsible for providing thickness. You're looking in the big trees, right? And when you look into the stem or the trunk, it's huge, isn't it? So it's because secondary growth has taken place in them? So it is because of your lateral meristem, which helps in the thickness. It provides thickness to the growing plant. So it is basically responsible for providing thickness. And these are responsible, primary meristem is responsible for increasing the length in the plant. So they are responsible for increasing the length in the plant. Is that clear? So as you can see here the picture. So next one, let us see the internal structure. Okay, apical meristem, it is showing your root and the shoot system, which you have already studied in the previous chapter, where we have seen that how the roots, that is the internal structure of the roots, right? You have seen that how the roots it divides with the help of this meristematic tissues. Okay, that is shoot meristem helps in the division of the that is the elongation of the cells or elongation of the roots. So as you can see, this part is known as the central cylinder. So here you can see these are the apical meristem in the roots, which are actively dividing. So this has the capacity to divide. So as it divides, it elongates the roots, okay, and which will lead to the growth, or which will increase the height of the plant. So as you can see, this is the protoderm and these are the cortex. Then this is the root cap. As you have seen that the roots, they have got root cap, right? So this root cap, what it does, it provides protection to the root. So this is the root cap, and here you can see number B is your shoot. So when you see the apical meristem of the shoot, how it looks like, which part is your shoot? If I draw one plant, okay, this is the leaf. So if I draw this like this, a plant, which one is your shoot tip? This is your shoot tip, right? So this part is your shoot tip. So this part which is underground, these are all your roots, right? Roots. So see, so from where the leaves arise from the nodes, isn't it? So the leaves arise from the nodes, and what do you call this one? The distance between two nodes is called as your internode. This part, that is the distance between two nodes, is called as your internode. So where does the intercalary meristem is present? This intercalary meristem is present somewhere in between, okay? In between this intercalary meristem is present. Have you seen that the herbivorous, they are grazing on the green grass, right? When they eat the green grass, this grass has the capacity to divide, because they are the herbivorous, that is your goat or other deer, when they are eating the grass, they are eating it from the center, isn't it? So the grass has a capacity to divide. How it is dividing? It's because of your intercalary meristem. So this intercalary meristem is present at the middle part of the plant, okay? So here this intercalary meristem is present. So it is present at the middle part of the stem or the plant. So as you can see, these are the leaves, right? So see here how it is, the apical meristem of your shoot. So as you can see, this is the leaf primordium, then this is your shoot apical meristem, where the cells are actively dividing. So this is your shoot apical meristem, then this is your auxiliary bud, and this is the differentiating vascular tissue. So here basically the xylem and the phloem will be present, okay? It is responsible for your transportation. So this is all about the apical meristem of the root and the shoot. Let's move into the types of meristem and understand the types in detail. So plants have different kinds of meristem, as you have seen. What are the three types of meristem? That is your apical meristem, intercalary meristem, and lateral meristem, right? So next, these meristems which occur at the tips of roots and shoots and produce primary tissues are called as your apical meristem. So where does the apical meristem occurs? They occurs at the tip of the root and the shoot. That is your root tip and shoot tip. So root apical meristem occupies the tip of a root. Yes, they are at the tip of a root, right? So while the shoot apical meristem occupies the distant most region of the stem axis. So as you have seen that if this is the stem, right, so the shoot apical meristem will be here, isn't it, right? So that is at the tip of the plant. At the tip of the plant, here the shoot apical meristem will be present. Is that clear? So next let us see the different characteristics. The meristem which occurs between the mature tissues is known as your intercalary meristem. So as I have shown you where the intercalary meristem is present, it is present at the center, okay, that is at the middle, that is occupies between the mature tissues. So they occur in grasses and regenerate parts removed by the grazing herbivores. So what are herbivores? You know that those who are surviving on the plants. So the deer, when it eats the grass, so the grass has a capacity to grow. They has a capacity to regenerate. How it is? It is because of the intercalary meristem. So where it is present? It is present between the mature tissues. So both apical meristem and intercalary meristem are primary meristem. So as I have already said that we can further classify the meristem into primary and secondary meristem, right? So as you have seen that, so both apical meristem and the intercalary meristem, they are your primary meristem. They are responsible for what? They are responsible for increasing the length of the growing plant. So because they appear early in life of a plant and contribute to formation of the primary part of the body. So this primary meristem, one more characteristic is that they appear early in the life, okay, and whereas the secondary meristem, they are appearing later in the plant. So next, the meristem that occurs in the mature region of roots and shoots of many plants, particularly those that produce woody axis, okay, that is later the primary meristem is called, appear later the primary meristem is called your secondary meristem. So which meristem comes in secondary meristem? It is your lateral meristem, right? So the secondary or the lateral meristem. So this secondary meristem, they are appearing later after the primary meristem. So they are cylindrical meristem. How is the shape of this meristem? They are cylindrical, okay. So when we say cylindrical, it will be like this, isn't it? So what is the function of this lateral meristem? This lateral meristem are providing what? Thickness, right? They are responsible for formation, that is a formation of your secondary growth in plants, that is development of your cambium, bark, cork, all these things, it is because of your lateral meristem. The fascicular, vascular cambium, then interfascicular cambium, cork cambium, all these are the examples of your what? Examples of your lateral meristem. Now you can ask me, what do you mean by this cambium? Okay, cambium are the actively dividing tissues of the xylem and phloem, which helps in the secondary growth in the plants. So what are this cambium? This cambium are the actively dividing tissues of your tissues in between the xylem and phloem. So I can write here, cambium is what? Cambium is actively dividing, let me erase this. Actively dividing tissues in between xylem and phloem, which helps in secondary growth in plants. So they are responsible for what? They are responsible for the secondary growth in plants. So they are responsible for producing the secondary tissues. So as you have already seen, right? So they are responsible for producing your secondary tissues. So clear up to this, what are the three types of meristem? Now let us move into the another type of tissue, that is your permanent tissue. Now so far we have seen the meristematic tissues, where you have seen that they have the capacity to divide. And what about the permanent tissues? This permanent tissues lacks the capacity to divide. So most of the cells in the permanent tissues, there are some cells, they are living cells, whereas some cells are dead. Okay, so permanent tissues, that is following division of cells in both primary and secondary meristem, the newly formed cells become structurally and functionally specialized and lose the ability to divide. So after further division of your primary and the secondary meristem, there are some cells, that is the cells in the plants, they lose the capacity to divide further. Alright, so they lack the capacity to divide further, and these tissues are called as your permanent tissues. Okay, they have become mature. So cells in the permanent tissues are differentiated. Okay, so cells, how they are differentiated, and the cells can be thick or thin. So such cells are termed as your permanent or the mature cells and constitute the permanent tissues. So the cells of permanent tissue do not divide further. As I have already said, they do not divide further. So what are the two types of permanent tissue? As there are three types of meristem, there are again two types of permanent tissues. So what are the two types of permanent tissues? The two types of permanent tissues are your simple permanent tissue and complex permanent tissue. By the name only you can understand that simple. Simple means it is only made up of one cell, okay, and complex means it is made up of two or more cells. Clear? So what is this simple permanent tissue? Let us see. Permanent tissues having all cells that is similar in structure and function. That is all the cells which are in similar in structure and function. Okay, so here all the cells will be similar. Okay, so they have got similar structure and function, that is known as your simple tissues. So only one type of cells you will find which will be having similar structure and function. So this simple permanent tissue is further divided into your three types. So what are the three types of your simple permanent tissue? Parenchyma, Choline Chyma and Skrill Chyma. So these are the three types of your simple permanent tissue. So simple permanent tissue, it can be, the cells can be your thick or thin, and the shape of the cells also varies. So some of the cells, they will be spherical, some will be oval, some will be your elongated too, and some of those cells may be living cells and some may be dead cells, and some cells they have got that is they have got space between them, that is intracellular space between them, and some they lack, that is they are very tightly packed. Clear? So now let us move into the parenchyma, that is your okay. Before that, let us learn the complex permanent tissue. As we have seen the simplest permanent tissue, in today's class we will be discussing in detail about the simple permanent tissue. So let us give you the definition of the complex permanent tissue. So this complex permanent tissue have got many different, okay, more than two types of cells, that is they have many different types of cells and they are called as complex. Okay, so they have got many different types of cells. So what are the two types of complex permanent tissue? That is your xylem and phloem. So which you have been studying from your lower classes. You know what is the function of xylem, right? Xylem is responsible for what? That is your transportation of water and minerals, whereas this phloem is responsible for transportation of your food. So this xylem and phloem, what are this? These two are your vascular tissues, right? These are your vascular tissues in the plant. So next, yes, let us see the parenchyma. So this complex tissue we will be learning in detail in the next session. So parenchyma is what? Parenchyma forms the major component within the organs. So have you seen, we eat this fleshy fruits, isn't it? Even the vegetables, the potato. So how the food is being stored inside the potato? It's because of your parenchyma tissues, alright? So they are also responsible for your secretion or storage of the food materials. So the cells of the parenchyma are generally isodiametric, okay? So the cells are isodiametric. They may vary from spherical, oval, round, polygonal or elongated in shape. So there may be presence of intercellular space, or the intercellular space may be absent. So the cells of the parenchyma, it will be like this, right? Some they have got space, whereas some we do not see the space, okay? So they are packed in this manner. Some may be spherical, some may be oval, and the shape varies from plant to plant. Some may be elongated too. So how is the cell? The cell wall. How is the cell wall? The cell wall here, it is your thin, okay? They have got thin cell wall. They are responsible for your storage. So next, the walls are thin and made up of cellulose. So what is present in them? That is your polysaccharide, that is your cellulose. So cellulose is present in the cell wall of your parenchyma tissues. So they may either be closely packed or have a small intercellular space. So as I have shown you, right, they may be closely or tightly packed, or they might have a little bit of space between them. So that space is called as your intercellular space. So can you see this space, right? This space is called as your intercellular space. So what is the function of this intercellular space? So they helps in the transportation of the minerals inside the cells, okay? Transportation of minerals. So the parenchyma performs various functions, like most important function is your photosynthesis, then your storage and also secretion. In the potato cells also, you will see this parenchyma, okay? They are thin, they have got cellulose, okay? Their cell wall has cellulose. So they are responsible for your secretion, storage and photosynthesis. Next, let us move into the next type of simple permanent tissue, that is your choline chyma. So what about this choline chyma? So choline chyma also, they occurs in layers below the epidermis in most of the dicotyledonous plants. Now, as you know that there are two types of plants. One is your monocotyledonous plants and dicotyledonous plants. How we will differentiate between this, whether this plant is monocot or dicot? Basically, this dicot plants, they will be having this thick, okay, that is, it will be thick, their stem will be thick, whereas in case of monocots, it will be thin. Most of them, it will be your thin, okay? In dicot, it will be thick. So by this we can identify, and this is your what? This is your canopy, right? Monocot. So by this also we can differentiate, and also we can differentiate with the help of your leaves, right? That is the venation in the leaves, and also we have seen that the flowers also. By that also we can differentiate your dicotyledonous and the monocotyledonous plants, right? So yes, now where it is found, this choline chyma, if I say this is a plant, okay? So this is the plant and this is the epidermis, right? This outer, that is epidermis is the outer covering, All right, so epidermis is the outer covering. If this is the epidermis, so it is just present where it is present below the epidermis. Here it is present. Okay, this Choline Chyma will be present here. That is Choline Chyma tissue. So it is just present below your epidermis in the plant. So see here, it is found either as a homogeneous layer or in patches. So it consists of cells which are much thickened. So how are the cells? Cells are thick. Okay, here the cells are thick. So how are the cells? The cells are thick here, not thin. The cells are thickened at the corners due to the deposition of cellulose, hemicellulose and pectin. So what are the various components present in the Choline Chyma? That is your cellulose, hemicellulose and pectin. Whereas in case of Parenchyma, the cell wall consists only of cellulose, right? There the cell wall consists of your three things, that is your cellulose, hemicellulose and pectin. This can be your MCQ question too. So see the structure of your Choline Chyma. So see here at the edge, you can see that at the corner the cells will be thick, isn't it? So here you can see the gap, right? So the mature plant having the Choline Chyma, they also have a vacuole. So see, this is the vacuole and the corners, the cell wall, they will be thick, isn't it? So they have got thickened corners. So it is exactly like this. We can draw it. So they have got thick. Okay, this portion is thick, so they have got thickened corners, and this is the vacuole. This is your vacuole at the center. So this are what? This is your cell wall. This part is your cell wall. So this is your cell wall. So this pink color is the cell wall, right? And this is the protoplast. This portion, that is the green portion, is your protoplast, right? So this green portion is the protoplast. So what do you mean by this protoplast? Protoplast is the area where the cytoplasm nucleus lies. Okay, so here it is the area where the cytoplasm, the nucleus and all other cell organelles lies. So it is a jelly-like substance, this protoplasm. So see, at the corner it is thickened, right? Then it has got vacuole at the center. Then it has got cell wall, right? So cell walls are basically thickened at the corners, right? So, and the cell wall consists of three things, that is your cellulose, hemicellulose and pectin. So next let us see other characteristics, that is Choline Chyma cells may be oval, spherical or polygonal and often contain chloroplast. Okay, this is important. So they contain chloroplast too. So these cells assimilate food when they contain chloroplast. So what is the function of chloroplast? As you know, they help in the preparation of food. So they assimilate and store the food. So intercellular space are absent. Okay, they are tightly packed. So these cells are very tightly packed, so the intercellular space is absent. So if I draw here like this, okay, so it can be like this. So see, there is no intercellular space. All right, so see, there is no intercellular space here. No intercellular space. So they provide mechanical support. As they are thick, the cell walls are thick, they provide mechanical support to the growing plants, growing parts of the plant, such as the stem, young stem and the petal of a leaf. Okay, so this is the function of your Choline Chyma. So next is the Choline Chyma occurs in layers below the epidermis, as I have already shown, where it occurs just below the epidermis. In most most of the dicotyledonous plants. So it is found either as homogeneous layer or in patches. So this is all about it. So yeah, we have already studied. So these are the various characteristics of your Choline Chyma. Let's move into the next type, which is your Scroll Chyma. So what is this? Here the cells are your dead. Okay, here the cells are your dead. Alright, so Scroll Chyma consists of narrow cells with thick and lignified cell walls having a few or numerous peats. So have you seen that when we eat the almonds, right, the outer cover of that is your Scroll Chyma. That is made up of Scroll Chyma. Or when you take this guava, the seeds are very hard, isn't it? So that is made up of your Scroll Chyma cells or tissues. All right, even we see this in case of your coconut. So they are very thick. Example, you can say coconut. So they are usually dead and without protoplast. So they do not have protoplast. Next, on the basis of variation in form, origin and development, Scroll Chyma may either be fibrous or stellids. Okay, so there are two types of Scroll Chyma. So Scroll Chyma may be divided in two types, that is your stellids and fibers. So these are the two types. Next, let us see the fibers are thick-walled, elongated and pointed cells generally occurring in groups in various parts of the plant. So how are the fibers? They are generally elongated. Okay, so as you can see in the picture, so they are elongated and they have got thick cell wall. So this is your fiber and this is your stellid. Okay, so here you will see the pith. Okay, this portion is called the pith and they have got thick cell wall, and this is your lumen. Alright, so these are the two types. So they are the stellids are spherical, oval or cylindrical. They are highly thickened cells with very narrow cavities. So as you can see, they are having very narrow cavities and they have got thick cell wall, and at the center you can see this one, right? This is your lumen. So there is no space in between them. There is no protoplast present in them. So next characteristics is they are commonly found in the fruit walls of nuts, as I have said the example of almonds, right? They are found in the fruit walls of nuts, pulp of fruits, that is your guava, pear and sapota, seed coat of legumes and leaves of your tea. So in the tea leaves also we find the Scroll Chyma tissues. So Scroll Chyma provides mechanical support to the organs. So as they have got cell wall which is very thick, so it is responsible for providing mechanical support to the flowering plant. So what we have learned, that is we have learned about the Scroll Chyma cells so far. So in today's class overall we have covered about what? We have covered the meristematic tissues and the permanent tissues, and you have seen that the meristematic tissues, there are three types, that is there are three types of meristem, right? One is your apical, intercalary and lateral, and the permanent tissues can be divided into two types, that is your simple permanent tissue and the complex permanent tissue. So in today's class we have covered only the simple permanent tissue. In the next session we will be covering your complex permanent tissue. So this is all about today's session. So I hope you have understood all the concepts what is discussed in today's class. So if you find this video useful, do like it and also share it with your friends so that they can benefit out of it, and don't forget to click on the bell icon so that you get notification of all my classes. So till then, be connected with Vista's learning. I will meet you in the next class where we will be learning about the complex permanent tissues. So take care and bye bye.